Okay, we are all here in the room. We have committee member Tamika Miller here, and so we are ready to start.
All right, if we're ready to begin, let me begin by thanking all of you for attending this morning. I know it can sometimes be difficult with schedules, but let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We just really have one major agenda, so it should move relatively fast. So, Christy, can you give us a roll call? Just establish a quorum.
Sure will. Steve Weeks.
Present.
Tanya Fairley.
Present.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez.
Present.
Colette Kavanaugh.
Present.
And Tamika Miller. You have a quorum.
Great. Let's move to our second item and approve the minutes from April 22nd. And let's take a look at them, and whoever wants to make a motion on that is free to do it.
I move to approve.
And do we have a
Yolanda Jimenez, second.
yeah, okay, great. And the second?
I second.
Okay, great. At this time, let's go ahead with a motion, and we'll next move to public discussion.
And this is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the minutes or the motion, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand, or you may look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment into the text box, and click send. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. Are there any comments on the minutes? And I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close the public comment feature?
Please do.
Thank you.
Okay, now that we have a motion and a second and no public comment, let's move on and vote on the motion to approve the minutes. Christy?
Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Tanya Fairley.
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez.
Yes.
Colette Kavanaugh.
Yes.
And Tamika Miller. Yes. Motion passes.
Terrific. Looking at the minutes. Now we move on to our main discussion of our meeting today, and that's regarding the manicurist worker classification. And I know Christy has some background on this she wants to share with us. And I know this is it's pretty important also from a staff position, because this is the sort of thing that's going to blow up our telephone lines and our emails. So hopefully we're prepared for that to happen. But go ahead, Chrissy.
All right, thank you. So we do have a little information in your agenda packets. In 2020, AB 5, which updated the labor code regarding employment classification to create an exemption for barbering and cosmetology licenses. And that exemption had basically a sunset date or an ending date for our manicurist license types. And that exemption is ending on January 1, 2025. And so now a manicurist will have to take the ABC test, which is a way to determine if you are considered an employee of a establishment or a independent contractor. And basically, all of our other license types are exempt. They received an exemption, and manicurists, that exemption now goes away as of January 1. And so basically, there were some related legislation that tried to extend this sunset date or remove the date and treat all of our licensees the same, and that did not pass. Most recently, SB 451, authored by Senator Wynn, and that bill did die. The board did take a support position on that bill. And so at this point, as of January 1, all manicurists will need to be employees of establishments. I'm going to say that again, just for anyone listening, that all manicurists will have to be employees of an establishment unless they own that establishment. And there is no workaround. We've had some creative suggestions from people, but unfortunately, there is no workaround. Now, I do want to emphasize that this is not a barbering and cosmetology law. This is a labor code, so we do not enforce this. But we are trying to get the word out. And we have done that by social media posts. We have information online on our website. Is it up in Vietnamese yet? Not in Vietnamese, but English. So our Vietnamese translation is currently being remediated, I believe is the correct word that we use for ADA compliance on our website. But we do have the English version. And as soon as we get the Vietnamese version, we'll be doing a listserv out to everyone so that everybody knows this is happening. But that language was provided to us from the Department of Industrial Relations, which is the department that handles this. They handle the labor commissioner's office is under Department of Industrial Relations, and it is, again, a labor law, not a business and professions law. So again, there's not anything that we will enforce because it's not our laws. But as we all know, when anything happens in this industry, people come to the board. And so we have received lots of emails and questions on this. We have included in your packet the information that was sent out or that will be sent out. It's the information that's posted on our website. We also have the statement that we're responding to on the emails because we don't also want to get in the business of interpreting other departments' laws. So we're trying to make sure we are only answering what we can when it pertains to our laws and not answering labor law questions. Those should be referred to the Labor Commissioner's office, which we have a standard response that we provide back to emails that includes the link to the Labor Commissioner's office. One of the things that I do want to bring up that people are asking us is, well, can't I get my own establishment license because I already have my own business license? And that can't happen as well because you can only have one establishment license at one address. Now, obviously, when we talk about the suite models, those are different because those suites are designated by their city or county. They've been zoned as a separate business and they are recognized by the United States Postal Service as a separate address. So we can't have a manicurist, and the business license that people get is separate from the board. So we don't require that. We don't look at that. And we do believe that, a lot of people might have multiple business licenses at one address, but we do not. We have one establishment address. Unless you are zoned as a suite, you can only have one establishment license. The other confusing thing is that we are hearing that people think this only impacts nail salons and only manicurists working in nail salons are impacted. Well, we don't license nail salons. We license establishments. So there is no differentiation between where this impact is taking place. Establishments are establishments. It doesn't matter if you do hair, skin, and nails, or it doesn't matter if you only do nails. So bottom line is one establishment per address, unless you're zoned for suites. And the way we read it, and I have done a couple of town halls recently where the Labor Commissioner's office spoke. And as of January 1, manicurists are to be considered employees and are eligible for all employee workers' rights that exist under the labor code. one of the things that this committee could do is make a recommendation to the board that the board simply just take a position on the overreaching idea that we would like our licensees treated the same. That all licensees, it's very confusing that here we have a cosmetologist who can actually do nails, and many do, who could be a booth renter and or independent contractor in a salon because they hold the cosmetology license, but a manicurist wouldn't, which for lack is not really fair. So that would be the only recommendation I would have. I do want to bring up that we had discussed earlier in the legislative session AB 2444, which was requiring us, this board, very different things. We took an opposed position because the cost was high. We were going to be required to send this information out. Instead, the California Healthy Nail Collaborative, who sponsored AB 2444, we wanted to work with them to try to get this information out, which is what we're doing. However, something that won't be voted on here in the committee, but will be voted on at our next board meeting, which is just a few weeks away, is we just recently got a cost estimate for sending that information out. So it was supposed to be a quarter page that the Department of Industrial Relations was going to provide us. We thought we could translate that into Vietnamese because we have so many manicurists that are Vietnamese speaking, and that would be one-sided quarter of a page insert or two-sided quarter of a page insert. Well, it's fully one page, and so it's going to be costly. And that cost is going to run the board a little over $106,000. That's what it would cost for this board to mail out this information to all of our manicurists and all of our establishments, because it impacts owners as much as it impacts manicurists. I am not comfortable with that high of a cost, considering, again, it's not our law to promote. And so that is our licensee fees that support our board. And that's our licensees' money that we would be using to put that information out that is, again, not our law and not within our jurisdiction to enforce. So we really thought it would be around $30,000 to $40,000, something that we could, justify a little more getting this information out. So that's going to go to the board at the next meeting, that cost. And should the board decide they want to spend their, make that motion to spend that much money on something, then that is fine. But it is concerning. And so at this point, we have no plans until after the board meeting to actually do a paper mailing to manicurists and establishment owners. Again, once we get it translated, it'll be on our website. It's in English on our website right now. And we will do a listserv. And that listserv will be sent out to all establishment owners. We can do it actually to all of our licensees, just as information, because we have cosmetologists in there as well. So we'll get an email out that will link to our website for individuals to see. And then we can also spread the word via our inspections when inspectors are out in the field as well. So that's where we are. And I would open it up to any questions or comments from the board or the committee.
This is Steve Weeks. I have just a couple of questions. So in summary, there's not one word of change to our Barbering and Cosmetology Act or our regulations, not any change whatsoever in that.
That's correct.
Okay. And obviously, I assume we're not going to inspect for compliance to this labor code change.
Correct.
What if we should find out that the establishment is not in compliance with this new requirement? Could it be a disciplinary action by us?
No, we can't take any action against labor codes.
Although an employer has generally speaking, an employer hires an employee as their agent responsible for that person. Um, if we say this is an exemption to our requirement, shouldn't we say that the employee add to it, though, someone should say that that employee must be licensed by our board? They can't, and a establishment license owner cannot treat it as any other type of employee, but this particular type of employee must be licensed to do this. Is that restated somewhere?
Well, it doesn't change licensing. We would still inspect just as we normally do for people being licensed. So really nothing's going to change, and we wouldn't even see the impact because we don't even ask those questions during inspection, who's an employee and who's not an employee, because as we know, booth renting is huge in this industry, and we don't even ask that when we do inspections today.
The implication, though, of us sending out such a mass mailing may be that we're the people that somehow should be contacted. We've kind of inserted ourselves in this process.
I would agree. And that's, the emails that we've received is very, that's a given. Anything that has anything to do with this industry, they're going to come to state board first. Our information that is in the on the website does start off with the statement that says the following message is being provided to you on behalf of the Department of Industrial Relations. The Board of Barbering and Cosmetology cannot answer questions regarding labor laws. So we start off that message with that. And then at the bottom, we refer them for general information, please visit, and we give them the Labor Commissioner's Office contact.
Do they, a cosmetologist's licensee can do manicure service?
Correct.
If manicure services are performed by a cosmetologist licensee, how would they be classified for the performance of the manicurist? So if I was a cosmetologist licensee from 10 to 11 one morning and I was working on hair, but from 11 to 12 I decided to do manicure services, would that mean that I'm a 1099 for what I'm doing for hair, but I have to switch to a part-time employee status for doing manicure?
So I don't believe so, because it refers to manicurist, as in a licensed manicurist. It's talking about the person and not the service. So it's basically saying if you're a licensed manicurist, meaning the person,
right?
That's who we're talking about.
Okay. Also, this is obviously going to have an impact on a manicure salon's liability insurance. When you start having an employee, I know someone went through this recently, charged a huge fine for failure to enforce a break during the morning hours. There's a lot of liability involved on this. Somehow they should probably know that it's almost certain to increase their liability insurance.
Something else we don't even have a requirement for, that we don't even ask establishments when we issue the license if they even have liability insurance.
Could we be held liable because we aren't getting more involved in this? Could the board be held liable in litigation?
No, because it's, again, just totally out of our law.
No implied reasons that we should have somehow been involved in this earlier.
Correct.
Okay. The only questions I had.
For Steve not to be in the cosmetology industry, I sure loved all the questions, because those are the ones that were down on my list to ask. With my biggest concern being the fact that we are sending out any type of mailing would then indicate to the common person that the board is somehow involved, taking responsibility. And I feel like that is going to be an overwhelming increase of responsibilities on our board. And how is that going to affect how is that going to affect the board? Not the board, but state board. How is that going to, are we equipped to handle the influx of what is coming with this? Because I've already been asked 20,000 times, and I just refer them to the board, because even when I say I have no idea, we have no, nothing to do with this, there still comes those 1,000,001 questions.
I agree. We have made a post on social media, and not all comments are public. And we have gotten a lot of questions, and we get a lot of questions just in our general email, because again, we're the entity that people know how to reach out to. And we have to just remember to tell people that it's not our law. It's a labor law, and that they have to contact the labor commissioner's office or a labor attorney.
Okay, I just see, I guess I hear what you're saying, but as we know, 99% of licensees, when you're talking about reading and putting the responsibility on them, I guess the big issue for me is that the minute we send that licensing information out, changes the narrative in their mind that we are somehow responsible, or we're leaving them out to dry without giving them any help or resources, because contacting the labor board, they're going to feel as if they've just come up against a wall. But I mean, I understand. I'm just, that devil's advocate when you're on this side and understanding what's to come is bigger than just saying, you got to contact the labor board.
I would agree with that. I think we have some sort of implied liability here for this, and that kind of concerns me. And it seemed to be, if it was truly not us instigating this or forcing this to happen, to force $106,000 on our budget right now is a bit of a burden for sure. It seems to me that they should be taking a franchise tax board, or whoever wants to handle this, who's forcing this. Have we argued pretty forcefully to try and get them to pay for this mailing?
No, we have not yet. I argued pretty forcefully to get the language in the first place. We honestly just got this quote, so we were surprised at how costly that was going to be. So no, that's definitely something I can reach out to DIR and say, sorry, this is very costly for us, and it's your responsibility. We can send you the addresses. Yes.
In the original language, there was some language saying that we would have to enclose the information when renewal came up and things like that. So I guess I didn't understand who's requiring us to do that, and if they're not responsible for any of the costs.
Well, that was in AB 2444, which we opposed, and that bill did not pass.
Okay.
And that bill was co-sponsored by the California Healthy Nail Collaborative, and because they believed that the language should come from us, because that's who people are used to. And that was our argument against it.
Okay, got it.
We all know that we get an ungodly amount of telephone calls and emails right now, and our staff is, as you know, hugely burdened by this. How much increase do you anticipate happening? Do you think this is going to be in the short term like a 10 or 15% increase in emails and phone calls?
We already have seen that increase. Do you have any ideas how many we're? I'm not sure at this point how much. Do you have any idea how many comments we got on Facebook? And
between Facebook and Instagram, because we try and filter to make sure ones that are appropriate are listed, I would say about 20 per post.
Okay.
So I mean, but then people are also talking through and having conversations through it. So
I assume it'll probably explode in January.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of individuals out there that do not understand or know that this has become, that this is happening.
We don't really have any motion to take to the board, do we?
The only thing I would recommend if the committee decides to take this motion is a motion to the board that would be sort of and Sabina maybe help me with this a little, but maybe a policy statement that the board would like to see our licensees treated the same. And then we could have that as a record of the board, even though it's not within our laws, it does impact our licensees. And then that could maybe open us up to any future discussions that the legislature might have in the coming future. So if the committee chooses, I would make a motion to recommend to the board a policy policy statement to bring all, equity across all of our license categories.
If we did that, if we did that, then now we're taking partly responsibility for the legislation.
No, because it's the effect of the legislation. The effect of the legislation. You're just conveying.
Yeah, I think I'm
reminding them of the changes.
Yeah. I don't personally believe we can be held any way liable or responsible for laws that don't fall within our jurisdiction. Would you agree, Sabina? Sabrina agrees. Sabrina, I just gave you a new name.
I pretty much called that every day. It's not new.
But you don't see it working against us with someone coming back and say, okay, we'll give you equity. Everyone should be an employee.
It's up to that. It's like any other law, we can't make somebody follow it.
Yeah, you never know what could happen. So it's up to the committee if they want to just make this policy statement to have all of our license types treated the same.
Again, maybe.
I'm definitely all on board with that because I feel like we work so hard to make us and get us to a place of community. And then you have this one group that's being isolated. And because there's nothing that we can do about the law, then our voice should matter. Steve, you're muted if you're talking. I see your lips.
You're muted.
Could we, instead of everyone treated the same on this, instead of that verbiage, could we say somehow that everyone should be treated as independent contractors, or somehow refer to the fact that everyone else, this is what they are, and this group should fall into that category?
Everyone should have the choice like they do.
Right. Mm-hmm. It should be the choice. There's people who absolutely want to be employees and owners who absolutely want employees and do it well. But we took away, well, not we, the choice has been taken away from manicurists. So maybe the motion should be that the board recommend to the board for a policy statement to allow all of our licensees to have the same choice in employee classification.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that.
Does someone want to make the motion?
Did you get that? Yeah, you can just say so moved because I believe we have the motion. Right, Sabina?
So moved.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Tanya has moved.
And we have a second?
Yes.
I second.
And Tamika has seconded. Oh, Steve, we lost your volume again.
Yeah, it's up and down. Let's go for public comment.
Thank you.
In the room.
The moderator. Oh, no comment in the room. Thank you.
No public. Yes, thank you.
And so on WebEx, if anyone would like to make a comment on the motion, you can click the hand icon to raise your hand, or you can click on the question mark icon, type the word comment into the text box and click send. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. We do have a request for comment from someone logged into WebEx as Fred Jones. Fred, I'm going to send you a request to unmute your microphone. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Fred Jones on behalf of the Professional Beauty Federation. First, let me congratulate Christy in summarizing the very complicated and moving target in this law. She did a very good job. But, you know, it really boils down to a matter of equity, as Tanya so eloquently stated. And so the Professional Beauty Federation, on behalf of everybody in our industry, all license categories, support the motion that has been made to bring equity across all license categories. We should not be treating any one sector of our industry different from another. That is just patently inequitable, unfair, and it's not right. I understand the board's reservations about assuming responsibility over labor law. We can make clear that that's not your responsibility, but people do look to the state board for leadership. And so a clear policy preference statement as moved in this motion is a good position for the board to take. We will be seeking legislative authors to try to correct or remove this sunset to permanently bring equity across all license categories. And we would, at that point, would love to have the board's support of that effort as well. So thank you, and we speak strongly in support of this motion.
Thank you. And I do not see any further requests for comment. Shall I close the public comment feature?
Please. And Christy, you can go ahead and call the roll.
All right. Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Tanya Fairley.
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez.
Sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colette Kavanaugh.
Yes.
And Tamika Miller. Yes. All right, motion passes.
Great. In that case, let's move to the other agenda, which is there any public comment on any items not on the agenda?
And this is the moderator again, and assuming there are still no public attendees in the room.
Correct.
Thank you. If anyone would like to suggest a agenda item that is not already on the agenda, you may look for the question mark icon and click that. Type the word comment in the text box and click send, or you may click the hand icon. Each speaker will have 2 minutes with a 15-second warning. Are there any requests for comment? And I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to our board members here. Do we have any suggestions for any future agenda items? Evidently not. So that being the case, thanks everyone for attending, and I think we can now adjourn our committee meeting. See you all at the next board. See you all at the next board meeting.
See you in a few weeks, Steve.
Okay, take care. Be good.